So just this morning, my son started a fire in the kitchen and just about burned down the house.
Oh my God.
Now, to be clear, this wasn't intentional. He was making a scalloped potato pie for his grandmother on her birthday. He likes to think of himself as a Gordon Ramsay. Yeah, he used a little bit too much butter. It overboiled, and all of a sudden, it caught fire, and the oven had flames shooting out of it.
Don't let him cook a thing.
Now, what happened next is key. He didn't run upstairs to grab his mother. He didn't try to fill up a bucket of water and put it out that way. No, he grabbed a fire extinguisher, sprayed the base of the fire, and put it right out. Now, that may seem like common sense, but as Voltaire said, common sense is not so common. You see, a lot of kitchen fires are associated with oils, and throwing water on them isn't necessarily going to work. In fact, can make the situation worse. So that's where a chemical fire extinguisher or knowing how to smother out a fire comes in very handy. And in my opinion, gents, this is one of the bare minimum skills that every man should know. So what else is on this list? And do you know all these basic skills? Gentlemen, that's what this video is all about. The next basic skill that every man needs to have, the ability to have a difficult conversation. This is going to come up in the workplace. This is going to come up in your relationships. If something's bothering you, don't let it build up. You need to be able to pull that person aside and be able to have a conversation man to woman, whatever it is, to be able to express what it is you're thinking, what bothers you, and how to be able to work together. Seriously, gents, this skill is so underrated. And one thing I think about here is to praise in public, but to critique privately. You don't want an audience when you're having this conversation because that other person is going to put on a front. When you can do this one-to-one, you eliminate, basically you're able to be more vulnerable. You're able to say what you want to say and hear that person out and understand their point of view. Next, how to stand up for yourself without being an asshole. Seriously, a lot of guys go from being a pushover to going full-on nuclear on people. You want to be able to find a way to just simply say, no, you don't have to explain yourself. Just simply have boundaries and stick to them. Next up on this list of bare minimums, if you've got people that depend on you, kids, a partner, a spouse, you want to have life insurance. For me personally, life insurance is critical. I've got 5 kids, including a 3-month-old. I have a spouse, and I have seen what happens when people pass away without life insurance. Seriously, when I was in the Marines, I was a staff officer for an infantry battalion. One of my jobs was to make sure that anyone that had not signed up, and it was automated life insurance, but if you declined it, and it was like $10 a month that you would save, but there were people that would simply turn this down. I had to talk with them and say, hey, do you realize what's happening? And we actually had a Marine in our battalion pass away who had declined that, and it was so unfortunate that his family missed out on simply being able to have money for his funeral, being able to take care of all the things that happen after somebody passes. So guys, if you're a parent, if you've got people that depend on you, you need to check out today's sponsor, Fabric. Guys, Fabric makes getting a quality term life insurance policy for your family quick, easy, and super affordable. Now, I know some of you guys are thinking getting an insurance policy. Oh, that sounds fun. That sounds complicated. Well, gents, hear me out, especially you parents. Guys, Fabric has incredible term life insurance policies that can be customized to your family, and you can be up and running in just 10 minutes. Think about that, guys. In just 10 minutes, your family can be fully protected. When you go over to Fabric, they're going to have an online application. It'll take you 10 minutes to go through it. I went through it myself. It is simple. It is easy. Then you're going to get a quote, and then you can personalize your quote to fit your family's needs. And guys, you could be offered coverage immediately with no health exam required. And personally, what I love about Fabric, it was built by parents for parents, so they make managing your finances easier. With over 1,600 5-star reviews, Fabric is fully backed by Vantis Life, one of the most trusted names in life insurance since 1847. Fabric also has significant savings over other providers with great quality policies like $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day. And on top of all that, they've got a 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can cancel at any time. Guys, to start protecting your family's future with Fabric, go to meetfabric.com/RMRS. Again, that's meetfabric.com/RMRS. Next up, let's get really practical. The basics of car maintenance. It doesn't matter if you don't own a vehicle because you're probably riding in a vehicle. Do you know how to inflate the tires? I think I read a study, 25% of people have no idea where to start when it comes to inflating a tire. Yes, sounds crazy, but don't be part of that 25%. And do you know how to change a tire? I think I read the opposite, like 75% of people have no idea where to start when changing a tire. And this can be something dangerous. So there are basic tutorials out there. You're going to take the nuts off while the tire is still on the ground. Believe it or not, I've seen people lift up the vehicle and then think that they're going to, twist things off. No, do it while it's down. Then you're going to lift up the vehicle. You're going to take it off. You're going to then put on the spare, and understand when you put on that spare, you shouldn't be driving more than 45 miles an hour, whatever that is in kilometers. Point being, don't be driving on a spare. This is not a normal thing. You want to get that regular tire in and get it fixed ASAP. Next up, let's talk about jump starting your battery. At some point, you're going to leave your lights on. The battery's just going to die. You're going to need a jump, or more likely, because you're prepared, somebody else around you is going to need a jump. Now, I do recommend that you carry a jump battery. That way, you don't have to hook up your battery, and you're going to save the life of it, and you can actually have, I think they're just easier to use, and you can, more mobile. But in the case that you are having to use your battery, or you're getting your battery jumped, how does this work? Now, first up, understand you've got the red cable. That is going to be the first one you're going to connect. After that, the black cable. Now, I know some of you technicians, electricians, some of you hobbyists out there saying, Antonio, come on, that's horrible advice. Always make sure to ground it. Okay, so that's what you're supposed to do according to the directions, but I don't know. What do you guys do? Let me know in the comments below. I want to hear from you. In any case, once the vehicle starts, immediately unplug, and going backwards, take off the black cable, take off the red cable. Now let's transition and talk about the basic necktie knots that you need to know. First up, we've got the 4-in-hand. This knot is perfect for pointed collars and smaller lapels. To tie it, first make sure the wide end is longer than the narrow end. The length will depend on the tie itself. Take the wide end and cross it over the narrow end, and then bring it under and behind. Wrap it around and across the front again, creating a loop. Then bring it up through the neck opening. Now pull the wide end through the loop created at the front, but don't squeeze it. Now you want your tie to have a dimple, as it looks much better than the tie just laying flat. There are 2 ways to create a dimple. First, use 3 fingers to squeeze the fabric on top together. Then gently pull with your other hand from the bottom down until it's tight. Another way is to pinch the knot from the sides with 2 fingers. Now use the other hand, and with 3 fingers placed on each side and the middle of the tie, gently pull down until it's tight. Now that you have the dimple, you can finish tying the knot by holding the narrow end and pushing the knot upwards to your neck. Keep the narrow end secure by using the keep loop on the back of the wider end. Remember, the tie should end around the middle of your belt line. If you find it to be too short, start over and shorten the narrow end. If it's too long, then make sure the wide end is shortened. Nicely done. Next up, we've got the half Windsor. This knot is incredibly versatile and works great with all colors and lapel sizes. To tie it, first make sure the wide end is longer than the narrow end. Cross the wide end over the narrow end and bring it under and behind. Now take the wide end and push it through the neck opening. Once it's through, take the wide end and pull it across the front of the knot and bring it under and through the neck opening again. Pull the wide end through the loop created at the front. Now add the dimple. Hold the narrow end and push your necktie by the knot up to your neck. Insert the narrow end into the keeper and you're done. If it lands on the middle of your belt line, you nailed it. Next up, the full Windsor. This is a large knot, perfectly suited for wider collars and wide lapels. Start by making sure the wide end is much longer than the narrow end. Now cross the wide end over the narrow end. Bring the wide end under and through the neck opening. Once you do that, take the wide end behind the narrow end and bring it over and through the neck opening once again. At this point, you should notice the symmetry of the knot. Now wrap the wide end across the front, then go under and through the neck opening from behind one final time. Finish off by pulling the wide end through the loop formed at the front, adding the dimple and pulling the knot upwards while holding the narrow end to tighten the knot. Insert the narrow end through the keeper loop and check the length. If it lands in the middle of the belt line, you nailed it like a boss. Next up, let's take a step back to the real bare minimums. You need to know how to clean yourself. You need to know how to properly take care of your oral hygiene. Understand that you should shower most likely once a day. Seriously, you got to read the comments when I put out a video on how to shower, how to brush your teeth, how to clean your ears, how to cut your nails. Everyone's like, isn't this common sense? Here's the thing, is common sense is a myth. It's not like we are all born with an intuition on how to do these things. A lot of it's based off how you're raised, culture, but you want to have a basic standard. And I'll tell you mine, showering once a day, pretty much no matter what, and brushing your teeth, rinsing your mouth, flossing your teeth twice a day. Flossing your teeth, maybe you can get away with once a day at night, but definitely the brushing your teeth, using a mouthwash. Guys, it sounds so simple, but go read the forums over on Reddit what the ladies are saying. They're like, yeah, I went down on that guy and I could not believe the smell. I mean, it was horrible. I'm just like, who are these guys? But apparently, and anyone that has joined the military or been around with all of young people in high school or college, you start to realize, some people have some pretty bad habits. Don't be that guy. Now, some of you guys are watching this and say, hey, this applies to the ladies as well. And you're exactly right. It just happens to be that 90% of my audience are men, so that's why I titled the video, and I usually say gentlemen and gents and stuff like that. But this one right here, yeah, applies to everybody. Basic finances. It's funny, I watch some of these MGTOW videos and you have a woman saying, hey, I've got my own place, I pay my own bills, I feed myself, and the guy's like, yeah, that's the bare minimum. And that goes both ways. You are expected to be able to pay your bills on time, to be able to balance a checkbook. I know a lot of you guys don't even use checks, but the idea is you want to be looking at money coming in and money going out, and you want to make sure that, hey, you don't have more going out unless you've got some secret trust fund, or maybe you're spending on a company or something like that. You got venture funded. But for the majority of us that live in the real world, you need to be putting money aside. You need to be saving. I definitely know in today's, with what's going on in the world, very hard, but you've got to find a way to be able to make it work. This is what is expected if you are going to live out on your own. So understand that this is, again, the bare minimum. Being able to build out a budget, being able to plan, being able to balance your books so that at the end of the month you got a little bit, even if it's, like 50 cents. I guess you can play quarters with a friend for entertainment. Now, this next one, some of you guys may think is optional. Some of you guys are going to say this is what a woman's for, but being able to cook. And that last part, I think that it is so stupid because it's about self-preservation. It's about being able to put good food into your body and not pay crazy prices to a restaurant that you don't even know what they're doing to the food in the back. I know for my son, he's like a budding Gordon Ramsay when he's not trying to burn down the house. And I love the fact that he's actually been teaching me about how to cook meats in different ways. He's been doing all this experiments. He's actually brought his cousin who's now staying with us over from Ukraine. And it's just interesting to see them. Yeah, this is what we're going to do. We're going to let the salt on the meat for 24 to 48 hours. We're going to let it dry out. And I know for some of you guys, it may be difficult. It's like, that ship's already sailed. I'm in my 40s, 50s. I don't really want to learn to cook. Well, how about you take a course? Because some of you guys, yeah, you're in your 40s, you're single, you're wondering, how can I meet people? Well, go to some of these cooking courses. Just look online. They're relatively inexpensive. Or host your own cooking course. Maybe talk to some people at work and say, hey, I want to do something. Let's maybe show up to a place and learn to cook, put together sushi. Me and my wife used to do this. We wanted to learn how to make sushi because it was really expensive. We didn't have much money. And we also live in an area where there's not really great sushi. And so we started having sushi parties and bringing over friends, and everyone contributed. And all of a sudden we started doing this. We literally had some of the fish flown in from California. So it was fresh. And we just pulled all of our resources, and we would, for like $20 a head, we would have, if I went to a sushi restaurant in New York City, it would cost me $150. We were able to dine like kings and queens. And again, on top of that, it's a great way to meet women. Next up, we've got dealing with emotions in a healthy way. So many of us growing up are told not to cry, not to show any emotion, and we keep it pent in, and we are a volcano waiting to explode. I know that when I first got into the relationship with my wife, there were moments that I want to take back. I literally would get so mad sometimes, and I never hit her, but I would take things. And I remember one time I just threw something out the window. I don't remember what it was. It was some type of electronic device. I've actually jumped out of a car. Then she kept talking and I didn't want to hear it. And I was like, I'm just like, yeah, I jumped in the car we were moving. We were only going like 15 miles an hour, but still I was like, I'm out of here. This isn't probably healthy. And I know some of you guys can relate to being emotionally compromised when everything keeps hitting you and people don't understand and you don't have a way to get out. I know for me, exercise. Running is one of the best ways just to get rid of the energy. I also journal. and I write down what I want to say. I remember reading about how Abraham Lincoln wanted to say something. I think it was Meade or one of the generals. Somebody can correct me down in the comments. Basically, he did not go down the offensive, and it was so frustrating to him that he wrote a letter and then he never sent it. I find that journaling for me is like that. And there's also, I've got 3 to 4 friends that I can call at any point. I know they'll pick up the phone and I can just talk to them and commiserate and they'll listen. It doesn't happen very often that I need to do this, but if I can't get a hold of one, I get hold of the other. And if, I've never not been able to get a hold of one of the 4. And speaking of keeping emotions in check out this video. I talk sadly about why I stopped riding that beautiful motorcycle. Oh, I loved riding motorcycles. I did the 4 corners. I lived for months on my bike, I think 6 months at one time, and I gave it all up. Why? Well, guys, I cover that in this video right here.